Morning. I ended up waking up pretty early today, but I was not able to do much in terms of going to school early because I had to spend my extra time editing a video, and I also could not cook anything sadly because I still wanted my bacon to fry that. Today, I reached class late around 8:30 a.m., but at the same time, our class was memorizing Spanish verbs, and the class said verbs such as poner or salir along with the English version of it. I always make sure to add my Italian version of it just to know how the other language works, and also kind of learn parallel at the same time. So I'm not just learning one language; I'm learning two languages, but there are also irregulars in both languages, but it is good stuff, all the basics that we had to memorize. And then we did an interesting Spanish numbers card game with a legend key. And if the card letter has a letter Q, L, A, E, or any given letter, and that corresponds to a given number on the board. And when we pull it out from the card deck, whoever says the number fastest wins the point. And it's not like a typical poker or a typical blackjack. We're just pulling out face card values, and whatever is on that face card, whatever number is assigned to it on the board, whoever says it faster in my table gets that free point in a 2-to-2 game. I didn't get it, but the teacher helped me, and I finally understood how to do it. We did other challenges such as multiplying the number later on, so that was a little bit more difficult, but I had some fun with my friend Jude here and there. And the class was cold and a little bit chilly, but the teacher said she also had fun doing this herself too. But the class at this time was mostly silence, and I put my phone caddy away, I think, before. And at the same time, the class was also getting more louder as people scored more points, and I kind of liked it, and people got to know each other more. But sadly, one of my few classmates ended up transferring, sadly, away. Period 2 English, the teacher brought us back to the RACE acronym for short answers I mentioned in CASP tests. The first part is a multi-choice and short answers, while the other is the essay writing side, which is pretty heavy. And she said that we're going to use all these acronyms that we're learning now. We're going to master these now so that later on when we have to do something, it becomes natural in the test and other finals. So I do find that pretty interesting. I am looking toward CASP, and I know a lot of people would end up viewing CASP as some sort of behemoth or some Goliath to defeat. But I know that in the bureaucratic form of it, every school has its own example of CASP across the state. So standardized testing. So I'm not scared of it, but I mean everything has its own challenge. So I mean I'll be ready once I get there. I'll just keep it as that. She said for part A, we must answer the questions. C is to cite sources or use an example. We got an excerpt by Emma by Jane Austen. She said the word inference and says to infer is to make a reasonable guess based on the given context. We are given an excerpt to paste in our notebook to help us practice the race strategy response. We have to highlight it and correct parts in the article that are given to us. I was properly able to name all of this in the article, so I'm pretty happy I did it. She emphasizes that it is important to cite correctly and be accurate about the page number, about the author's last name too, and citing it correctly in parenthetical form. The story was about Emma maturing early as a result of early life thinking and situations that caused her to grow older. The final acronym E stands for explaining the response and how it connects to evidence. As she explained it, I understood how it is, but I still kind of confuse it a little bit with the other letters, but she corrected us. Eventually, I understood how to do it on the basic level. And before I realized, time ended, and I recollected my phone from the loose Catsy. The funny observation that I also saw as the class was ending is that she said she was glad class was ending so she could go home. But there was a grad pick gallery from the class of 2026, I believe. I'm not sure if it was from 23, where everyone had their own favorite university that they wanted to represent. But someone put Arby's as a logo instead of a university that they wanted to go to. So I'd assume from that picture they were probably hurrying things up and had to get something. So that was pretty funny. But it is pretty fun looking at a lot of class posters and all of the teams that there were. For period 3, today we were given 10 minutes to initially work on our math ready set go and to also get everything ready in terms of pair assessment. The teacher for our class helped us set up pair assessment and for us to sign in for tomorrow's diagnostic test. Before I got it set up, I looked at my old pair assessment classes. I remember that one class I had my teacher with last year where we had to transfer periods because the applicants didn't want him doing a sixth period. And he said that as for the pair assessment login, it's not allowing him to sign in, so he's going to have to delay this until at least a few days later because apparently the administration gave out the wrong information. So we're given these 5 bonus minutes along with 10 other minutes as he called admins for help, saying that pair assessment doesn't work. Yes, the admin announcement was that all the information was indeed sent incorrectly. And as I looked through my old pair assessment, I remember my old scores and my old tests, and it is kind of old because, well, I've been here for a long time. But it does feel kind of old seeing my first class I did in Spanish and to my class at last year and to my class this year. So it is kind of sad, but it's kind of mellow because eventually it is important to move on and stay in the same place forever, so to speak. But in the math problem, we had issues such as the classical dog pen that's presented in all integrated math classes, classical dog pen, and the cat pen problem where there's 360 feet squared, creating our equation 6c plus 24d equals 360, signifying it, and we have to solve this. And eventually, I got d equals 15 minus 0.25c, or y equals negative 1 over 4x plus 15. We had this problem last year and the year before doing word formulas with these pets, and we wrote down the ordered pairs and cats as an output value and an input value, computing to find each unique problem that it's asking, whether it's Carlos or Clarita asking for whether they want the cost of the dog food or something else. It was pretty interesting, and I could not get exact numbers because I still don't remember. But the class was mostly attentive at this point and not as rowdy. But I definitely know there's this one smart kid in the class who came up with one complex equation right as class was in the middle of it all. But it was a little bit cold as it is because the classroom air conditioning has to overwork over the summer. But it is pretty cool to just to see that yes, there's a lot of smart boys and smart classes and a lot of help from. It was pretty cool. I've seen Carlos and Clarita's problem at least 100 times before. The teacher got a little confused on time and said that we apparently have to go in 10 minutes and not 20 due to day schedule rearrangements. It turns out the teacher for the question asking for the domain of the entire problem for dogs and cats, he got it mixed up, but he made sure to say that they are still inverses and they switch. He said that tomorrow. I got confused and thought there was a snack period after this point, so I asked is that if there was indeed a snack period for this class, but I realized that these snack periods are those of the winter, but if it's during a rare day like this, there is no snack time. It's only for period four. I was a bit confused on where to go, but I realized I am back here at the garden. So we went there again with our teacher, and she was very much eccentric, very happy and excited. And I didn't like the weather as much today, but I had some daily talks with Ted, and it was mostly about the weather and the confusion from my period six yesterday for the cube project, but it wasn't really too much. My visit to the garden, which I'll just take a picture of my drone because it's way too much to describe. But to kind of sum it up a little bit, the garden was crazy. It's practically an ecosystem in the middle of a nonetheless sterile school. There's a lot of chickens. There's a lot of plants. I see those basil leaves too, which I just reminded me I need to water my own basil leaves at my house right now. And there's a lot of stuff. It's also humid too. This is like East Coast weather as I experienced it at like 11 a.m. And she said that apparently from a storm earlier that came from across the Pacific Ocean, it's bringing out that wind and humidity today. So I do find it pretty interesting. I did want to talk to a group near me as I was walking around, but honestly I felt too shy though. I might talk to them tomorrow if we have time. Period five, today we did not have bell work and we had to answer that one remaining essential question that I did not do yesterday, and also what caused King Philip's War. It was background music, but I still struggled writing and I barely finished it at the end. It was practically a whole entire paragraph, and in the table of contents, we scored ourselves per each completed piece of work, and we have to screenshot our notes physically too, which I also forgot to do this. I think because of this script that I'm just copying right now, I do have to turn this in pretty soon. We have to plug it into the slide and the number, and then as we had to scroll across multiple different Google slides, we also had to learn about the Spanish and English colonies. We copied off of the chart to slide to our paper, learning about the structure, but we were not able to finish up the chart because the class period ended so early. And as I do remember, yes, she does want us to turn this paper in for the slides, but we're not doing it just yet because we did not finish, I believe. But it might be late. I hope. I'm just going to double check. For period six engineering today, I forgot to bring my printer paper that had the blueprint, so I had to redraw again. I think Ted finally told me that when it comes to building it, I finally understood it. So each square represents a level layer on the printer paper. From the bottom layer goes to the top layer. Level one, level two, level three. And spatially, I realize that I'm not just like connecting this literally. If spatial layer one is the bottom, then I have to draw the cubes literally as they are from the bottom. If I have another square on the printer paper that's level two represents the next level physically from the cube. I'm moving one cube level up. So I remember that that's where I connected. If a block that has to go on square number seven, that has to go right there, but it has to be on top of the first layer. And then level three is a top layer. If I have something interesting that I want to put there, then I have to connect it from the second layer. I connect it and create an entire piece, connecting them all together. I eventually understand this part of the basics, but I did violate that 5 block rule, haha, Tad. But I still don't understand what the other shapes exactly mean. So today I might go on some self-guided study and see how this stuff really works, to be honest. But I am getting a little confused here, but otherwise, not really much to note here. I'm hoping that next week I get to plant some basil leaves in that garden and get to have some sort of excitement. And I hope my teacher will be happy when I do. And I might also have to bring the seed sign putter, like the one where you put a pike in the dirt just to mark where the plant is going. So I might do that and bring a water bottle with me. So I hope that goes well. But other than that, not much to note here. Thanks, guys.